Hello, everybody. Welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I'm TheOutbackAl.
I'm hot for justice.
And I'm keeping you.
And we're back again with Paranoia Agent, episodes 4 through 6, because that's what we watched this week. And, I definitely didn't just watch it right before we got on here. How is everyone? You know what? I think we need to take a moment. Chippy, you were not with us last week. What were your initial impressions of episodes 1 through 3 while I gather my notes?
I wasn't either.
Oh, yeah, you weren't either. I forgot about this.
I just thought it was, I get that, depending on what you're watching, it's either Shonen Bat or Little Slugger. Either, this entity, individual, whatever, is the one thing that's connecting all of the characters that we're seeing throughout the show.
Yep.
And I don't know, I guess I just found it a little weird. Is my whole take. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. It is a weird show. It's a Satoshi Kon show,
why.
so, it's going to be along those perfect blue paprika lines of things, so. Gav, what did you think of episodes 1 through 3 before we talk about 4 through 6?
I thought it was, kind of weird, but not in, a bad way. I don't know. I wanted to see what would happen, next, so I kept watching it. But, yeah, I had to break it up into parts. I watched 1 through 3 together, and then I watched 4 through 6 together.
Okay.
Which I guess is what everyone else did.
Yeah, pretty much.
For the most part. So yeah. And I think I liked the first 3 episodes more than the, 4 through 6 episodes.
Okay.
But that could have also just been because I was, multitasking when I was doing, the latter. But, I don't know. It's hard to say. I really like the voice acting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I have a couple of people on there who I definitely recognize from some other stuff. I know you were mentioning me earlier, Liam O'Brien.
Yeah, it always comes back to Liam O'Brien.
We keep seeing him all over the place. But there are others in there. I would have to look up a cast list to name everybody, but yeah. So should we get into 4 through 6 and see where it goes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the first 3 were definitely about all these individual instances, and trying to figure out how they're related and all that sort of stuff. And we kind of get a better idea as we keep going. We see some more connections between the victims in 4 through 6, and then at the same time, it completely throws it all out the window a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the 4th episode follows, if you remember episode 3, it followed the lady tutor.
Yep.
Who has a dissociative identity disorder where she's also a prostitute, and one of her clients is some dude who, you don't think much of him at the time because he's just kind of in 1 or 2 scenes and doesn't say much. But turns out he's a police officer, yeah.
Yep.
Who is
an ass.
Yeah, he's an ass. There's a lot of asses in this show. Yeah, he's a not so squeaky clean police officer who is informing the local Yakuza about police investigations and whatnot, and they're kind of interested in this whole Lil Slugger thing. Is this going to cause problems for our particular thing? And that last lady who got hit, she was one of our prostitutes, and, is this going to cause problems? He's like, nah, I don't think so. They're not really looking into you guys. They're looking into this kid. And, it's kind of following him and how he, uses their services a lot.
Yep.
It's about the best way I can go about describing that. And he's a family man who's like building a house and doing all this stuff, and at the same time, though, he's out every night, gambling and getting with Yakuza hookers and all sorts of stuff and taking bribes and all that sort of stuff. And it kind of catches up with him because the Yakuza want their money back at a certain point. And they're like, hey, you owe us 2 million yen. And he's like, well, how am I supposed to get that? So he, starts robbing people in a local district. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you gave us 1 million. Oh, you need an extension? That's fine. I'll loan you the money. You'll just owe us 3 million yen now. And it's like, okay, I got to keep robbing people. And he's just like, oh, now it's up to 5 million. It's okay. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he goes a little nutty at that point because he has he's a desperate man in desperate times. And, well, I mean, the desperate times are kind of his own fault. But yeah, he's kind of losing it. And then after a particular robbery, and I guess he was going to hand off the money to the Yakuza, he gets attacked by Lil Slugger. But Lil Slugger didn't do a great job this time because the guy gets up and just kicks the shit out of him.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how they arrested Lil Slugger, as we saw in the end of episode 3. And episode 5 is all about the interrogation of said Lil Slugger. And we learn why. Why did he do this? Why did he go out and attack people and do all this stuff? And he is just as nutty as the rest of the bunch. Yep. Apparently, this kid who's I want to say he's like a junior in high school, or like a sophomore in high school or something.
He's real short.
Yeah, he's a short, older kid, teenager, possibly. Who, yes, he went around riding on his roller skates and beating people with a metal bat because he's convinced that he's living inside of a video game and that he is a holy warrior sent to slay beasts that are that are being controlled by Goma, I think.
Yeah. And
this is just the worst day for the lead detective because he is just not having any of this. But Liam O'Brien's into it because you know how he likes D&D.
Oh my god.
You didn't make that connection? I made that connection hard.
So my whole thing with all that is just all from the first 3 episodes, their whole thing is they wanted freedom from their daily lives, and he was the thing that brought freedom. So the whole he's slaying monsters under the control of something is just kind of playing into the whole freedom thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's my thoughts.
It definitely still works as the metaphor for things happen to you that free you from the responsibilities of, life. Mm-hmm. And, there's an argument for the whole Goma thing. What is Goma? What is the true form of Goma? It's, it's responsibility and it's stress and anxiety and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think it was more interesting when it was not him, a person, and it was more of just this entity.
Yeah.
Kind of
I was real convinced that he was just some sort of ethereal being that just so happened to be sort of a modernization that just kind of was okay, here you go, I'm setting you free from all your problems.
Yeah,
that's a little too simplified.
Like a cryptid urban legend kind of shared hallucination.
He's a yokai kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. One of those things. Oh god, I remember the former anime club president used to do those presentations on Japanese yokai urban legend things. There was the one that comes to mind the most is it was a lady who walks around with a surgical mask or something.
Oh, I hate that one.
Yeah, and she's like, do you think I'm pretty? And if you answer her, she either eats your face off or steals your soul or whatever, or if you but the only way to get around her is to be hey, sorry, I'm busy. And she's like, oh, sorry, bye.
She disfigures you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just figures you.
I hate that.
The ones I usually remember from those presentations were the lady with the long neck.
Oh yeah, the old ones are always pretty distinct.
The wheel, the gigantic skeleton.
Yep.
And then I think another couple that I remember are the inanimate objects that are able to move about and do things.
The kind of Shinto ghost kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are interesting, and they definitely stand out the most because they're probably the most fantastical. But like, I think the creepier ones are definitely like the grudge ghost kind of like, or the the things where it's like, okay, you could see this any day of the week, but then suddenly it's not normal anymore. Kind of, I don't know. It's just a random lady. No, she's gonna eat your face off. Like, that's a little scarier to me than random giant bone skeleton person who I know is not real. And I know I'm not going to see on a regular basis. But, like, this metal, like, not Metal Bat. That's One Punch Man. Lil Slugger, Golden Bat, whatever you want to call him. As, like, just an urban legend horror story. Or not necessarily a horror story because it doesn't kill anyone. But, sort of like one of those urban boogeymen kind of deal. Mm-hmm. It definitely works really well. But then you find out that it's just a person. It kind of takes away some of the mystique of it all, which I wasn't expecting to happen until like the end of the series. But that's Satoshi Kon. He doesn't do what people think is going to happen. But yes, what we're sharing in his delusion, and this was honestly probably one of the most visually interesting episodes, simply because we're like switching between reality and his fantasy world, and there's actually, I think Millennium Actress came out after this. I think this episode might have been the like kind of prototype of what Millennium Actress was, because
I actually saw somewhere that it's it follows.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It says follows along in a narrative device quite reminiscent of the director's Millennium Actress, which makes me think it came.
So Millennium Actress was first?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Well, either way, I like the style of it because it's very interesting. It's like, you're going back and you're looking at like what happened and how it happened or whatever the narrative was, but like you're including the people who are listening to the story in the story in a kind of way, and it's just really engaging to me, and I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that movie as well. So this episode was really fun for me.
I figured it would be.
Yeah, it's trippy too. Plus, they had there's just a lot of, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the QB in me, but something about just watching just a disgruntled person having the worst day and just dealing with that is just hilarious to me. Because he's even singing a little song. It's like, all around the mulberry bush, my partner chased the loony.
Yeah.
And Liam O'Brien's is like, you know what? I'm down the rabbit hole. I'm having a good time. And he's going along with everything this kid's saying. Which, to some degree, and granted, I'm no psychologist, or, I don't know enough about criminal psychology or any sort of, interrogation techniques, but, I think he's got the better idea of, if we feed into this kid's fantasy a little bit, he's going to talk, and we're going to see details that are correlating and, going parallel to the things that actually happened.
I mean,
with the incidents.
Honestly, from everything that I've ever seen, someone who takes that approach when talking to someone whose sense of reality isn't quite where it should be, that's actually always the best route to take if you're trying to gather information on what's going on in their head.
Yeah, build off of whatever they have and compare it to what you know, and
it's also basically the best way to see whether or not they, have competence, more or less, so that way, you can judge whether or not to, actually, try them, because if someone's delusional, it's kind of hard to, convict them of something they don't even realize that they're doing wrong.
That's true. And, the kid clearly was describing the events that happened. It's just he was taught he can't describe them from any perspective other than his own delusional one. But yeah, I don't know what Japan's thoughts on the insanity plea are, so yeah, I don't know if he would have counted towards that. But yeah, it's hard to go into a lot of detail because it's so they're going over this monster manual thing and all of his powers and all this other stuff, and everyone is playing a role in his fantasy world, and but by the time they get to the end, they're they get to the point where what's his face, the cop from the last episode, kicked his ass, and he's like, well, game's over, I guess I have to start from my last save point. And he was like, I'm so close to the next level, and Liam O'Brien, being the intelligent one of the two, honestly, is going like, well, what's in the next level? It's like, oh, I'm supposed to see this old lady, and then she's supposed to tell me about something or other that'll lead to what I'm supposed to do next. And they're like, you know what? We know an old lady who was around during some of these attacks.
The one who was digging through the garbage.
Yep. So, they're connecting the pieces a little bit.
I just remembered something. So, the difference between legal systems, I believe, between here and Japan, American, I guess, thought process or philosophy is you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
As far as, from what I can remember that I know of, the Japanese legal system, it's you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah. I know that there's, stuff like there. They can hold you for, a month without actually charging you with anything. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of insane to me. But, yeah. So, yeah, that kid's probably going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
Until they can prove, something else. Yeah. But, they are getting into some interesting stuff in regard to the first victim, because he had stuff on every single one of the other victims. The two kids, the reporter, the prostituter, and the cop. Mm-hmm. But he never said anything about the first girl. Mm-hmm. And then they go see I'm forgetting. Were we in episode 6 by this point, where they start talking to the old lady? All right, episode 6. They go to see the old lady at her shanty house thing, lean-to, whatever you want to call it. And, they're, trying to get her to talk about the night, and she's like, oh, I haven't seen my granddaughter in so long, and I'm sad about that, and then this and that, and... we see someone else coming into the story who was also in the theme song, so clearly they're supposed to be an important character. Mm-hmm. And she's just kind of walking around. There's a storm brewing, and shit's happening. But let's see here. They start asking the old woman about the first attack because she was there, or was at least seen nearby. And they're like, what happened? Did the kid do it? Did what happen? And she's like, no one was there. It was just the lady. And that kind of throws a wrench in a couple of things, because this kid apparently was not the first Lil Slugger, so he might be a copycat. They might not have gotten the first guy. But then they're like, oh, if there wasn't a first guy, then this lady made the whole thing up and broke her own leg just to get out of her own responsibilities and stuff, which, sounds plausible. She just made up a story about some kid, and it just so happened that there was a kid who looked exactly like that, who had a delusion at the time, and it's a whole lot of coincidences where you're kind of going okay, what is happening here, and how is this all going to connect, as we still have half the season left.
Nope, it's a video game. Just like
it's a video game to him.
Extra lives.
It's a video game to him, but, what are the odds that, you describe this random thing and suddenly it's exactly what happens?
I mean,
I don't...
stranger things have happened.
Fair enough. But, yeah, so... But the weird thing is, if no one ever hit her in the first place, why did the kid say to her whenever he rolled by the second time, he's like, good to see you again? He'd never seen her before, unless he's just pretending to be that guy completely. But he's not thinking of himself as Lil Slugger. He's thinking of himself as the Holy Warrior. Mm-hmm. And, clearly she already has some other delusions, what with the whole, she talks to her stuffed animal. So, I don't know. What is it, Houdini?
He wants attention right now.
He wants attention?
He wants attention and love.
Dear.
And you're going to have to get up here if you want some hugs.
Okay. But yeah. Meanwhile, in the B storyline of this episode, we're looking at it's not revealed until later, but it's pretty obvious from the start that the cop's daughter is back in town, and she hates Dad.
Unsurprising.
Yeah, and we eventually find out why, which is weird to me because it doesn't seem to match up with the overall timeline of the show.
Okay.
Because during this whole Lil Slugger incident, the cop was using some of the extra money to build a house. It was his dream house for him, his kid, and his wife. And it was under construction whenever the Lil Slugger things were going on, and he got hit. But that would mean that his daughter was living with him. The daughter has been estranged for a number of years, but seems to be getting back into town at the time of the Lil Slugger incidents. And I say that... I say that because, like, it's... There's a scene where it turns out her dirty cop prostitute getting father put a camera in her room to take pictures of her.
Yeah, with the whole daddy kink. That wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, he's messed up, and good on her for getting out of there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense to me because the house was complete, she was still in school or whatever, and then she found out about it and left. When Little Slugger's going on, the house is still under construction and hasn't had a mudslide go through it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's back and the house is complete. So I'm like, are these things happening again? And we're seeing like two parallel instances because we see the old woman twice there, but I don't know what's going on entirely.
I'm trying to remember actually how the opening goes, because all of the characters that we see show up kind of like, at least for the first three, like the first three like little instances that we see, those are like the first 3 episodes. Those are the first 3 victims.
Yes.
Because it starts off with the one girl, and then the 2 kids, and then the tutor. For the
prostituter.
Yeah. And then at some point it does split off. But
yeah, we get the detectives in there a little bit.
Yeah.
There's
the
old man.
Because they're involved with those story arcs. But then they start featuring the other characters, like, kind of in order that, like, they're brought in importance.
Yeah.
So, I'm just wondering, like, when she showed up in the opening. She didn't?
She did.
She did.
She did. Yeah, at this point we've seen everyone who's in the opening, so all the players are here.
She's the one with the hat.
Okay.
Yes. But I'm not sure at what point, one, the house was completed, or if it was. Because that's the house that she was being spied on in. And it's not done whenever Little Slugger's happening. So does she come back much later, and it just so happens that there's similar events going on, or a similar storm? Because she wasn't attacked by Little Slugger or anything like that.
I'm more leaning towards the... it's like someone hit the reset button. That's more what I'm leaning towards, but...
Do you want to hear the episode description?
I mean, if you would.
I mean, I guess we can, as long as it's not going to spoil anything for episode 7 or something.
No. It says... Taiko, a runaway teenager, wanders through the stormy city wanting to forget about her past. Her father, who she adored, is policeman Masami Hirukawa. Her family had just moved into the house he built for them when she discovered a file in the computer's recycle bin.
Yeah.
As she reaches the brink of despair in the storm, Lil Slugger knocks her out.
Okay. So...
Okay, but in episode 4 with the cop, his house wasn't done yet. And that was the point where he caught Little Slugger.
So, given that description now, what I'm thinking is, like, maybe what she saw was stuff from their old house? I don't know.
But it was the new house. That was the house they specifically built. And he was like, I'm building this for my wife and daughter, and which means she was around.
I think that he was working on the house. It was still, like, livable. Like, they were still living in it. We just saw, like, part of the house that was being worked on.
See, I don't remember that. I mean, I remember seeing the front of the house. It was complete. Her room was there. It was complete. Like, she walked into it.
Yeah.
But, like, 2 episodes previous, which is supposed to be, like, right in the middle of this Lil Slugger thing, it's only half finished.
Maybe.
Which says that there's something going on where, like, we're seeing bits of, like, isn't happening as Lil Slugger is happening. Like, I don't know if there's going to be another Lil Slugger, or if, again, it is a shared delusion and it really is an urban legend creature, yokai kind of thing, and it's just returning.
Oh,
But
are you talking about Lil Slugger now, like, being...
well, Lil Slugger was caught.
Well, that is discussed in the next episode, apparently.
Okay, fine. Well, we'll find out then. I'm down for that. But it's keeping my interest, because...
I'm thinking maybe this was just more, like... Maybe it was set during the events of episode 4? Potentially? I don't know.
But...
Okay.
I mean, but they were... The cops were going to see the old woman, and... Also, I mean, the old woman is also walking around and doing different... What's going on?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, but, like, yeah. This is all happening while they're interviewing the old woman, which is after they caught Lil Slugger. The house isn't finished yet. But the house is finished before she leaves. So this has to be later on, whenever she comes back.
I don't know, because it makes it sound like it just, like she just ran away and she's coming back already.
Yeah, that's fine, but the house has to be finished, and it's not at this point. Where we're at with Little Slugger and the whole, I did it for Holy Warrior, yada yada.
I don't know.
That's why I'm thinking it took place along the same time as episode 4, those events. But this, like, whole her walking through the storm is her, like, having a flashback. I don't know. Like, the events that were...
It's definitely not a flashback.
I don't know.
Yeah, but how would that be a flashback? Because she has flashbacks to whenever she left. But the house was finished. And it can't be during episode 4, because episode 4, it's still not finished.
Unless it's, like, it really is in the past when she was, like, a little girl that this happened, and then, like, she ran away, and then she came back when the house was being redone. That's
but
what I got when I was...
the house was done when she got back, because it was being hit by the mudslide.
I thought it was still being worked on.
It was being worked on in episode 4. Episode 6, it's finished. She's been gone. And then a mudslide happened that took it out.
Maybe.
But episodes 4, 5, and 6 are all within like a 24-hour frame almost. At least in regard to the detectives and them catching Little Slugger. Which tells me that the B story with the girl is either happening at a different time, or we got some sort of weird parallel reality going on. Which I don't put it past Satoshi Kon. I just don't think it's going to go there just yet.
I don't know. I don't think it's that important.
You don't think a person in the theme song is going to be important?
No,
I'm still trying to figure out where the old man connects to everything.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think the whole time frame of the house and stuff is that important to it at this point. Like,
Oh.
I mean, unless it took them like a month to talk to this kid.
I mean, maybe. Who knows, to be honest.
could have been dragged out, and we just don't know because it was in such a weird.
The time frame for the show can be misleading. And I know that from like watching other things that like you think it picks off from certain points, and you think that like everything takes place within like so short a time frame, but
I mean,
not necessarily.
I'm willing to bet that like between Little Slugger attacks, there was probably a week or two or something. Like, I don't expect, like, you know, as soon as the girl was attacked, then the next night the other guy was attacked. Like, there's a couple days expanse between those two things, and we don't know how long it was between the attack between the reporter and the school kids. Though it's, like, we can kind of tell how much time there was between the two school kids. It was probably a day or two. Because the kid was scared to go to school the next day, so it might have been even over the weekend. So the most, it was like 3 days.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know how long between the reporter and the first kid, and then how long was it between, because the kid was in the hospital for a little while before the lady was hit, and how many different nights she was going through was probably a week or so or more. So I'm not thinking this is all happening in 1 week, but
probably
by the time the
a
kid
lot
gets
longer.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with the tutor, only because her episode, like, seemed to be taking, like, at least, like, well over a week, considering, like, she was, like, engaged, she made wedding
she was
plans
engaged
and doing a lot of other things, and, like, this is stuff that takes place, like, I don't really know how they organize weddings in Japan, but this is something you take a long time to plan out.
Possibly. I mean, the engagement kind of came out of nowhere.
But as to who the old man is...
Like, it's possible that some of her story might have been flashback.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't think, like, right at the beginning she goes to see the kid in the hospital. It's probably, like, halfway through the episode that she does. So, anything before that really could have happened at any time. But after that point, definitely it's, like, after the kid had got hit.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it might be a couple weeks between attacks. But after you catch him, you're going to investigate that right away. You're not going to wait for him for a couple of weeks to do something. And, like, I'm assuming episode 5 happened, like, the day after episode 4. Or episode 4 ended.
Yeah, but I think episode 5 could have been, like, extended over a longer period of time, though, even though it was, like, the fantasy thing. Like, they probably questioned him over, like, a couple of, like, days or a week or something.
I guess that's possible, and I have a feeling that the cop wasn't hit for a couple of weeks because his house was being built, and we are seeing the progress of that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how long this interrogation went, that they... I mean, granted, it's anime. People don't change their clothes very often, but this kid's wearing the same thing every single day. Like, does he shower? What's going on? But, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there's been enough time that, like, people have left and built houses and done other things, and then... I don't know. Maybe it has.
Like I said, I think the house that before I think she was having flashbacks of, like, a new house they had just moved into, and it just so happens that she's been gone and he's, like, making renovations on their house again, and it just so happens that, like, that's going on, like, when she comes back.
I'm gonna be honest, I disagree, but we're not gonna know until the next episode, I don't think, definitively what this timeline is.
Well, because it says her family had just moved into the house he built for them when she discovered a file in the computer's recycle bin. But then it says...
Yes, I understand that. But then how long has it been since they caught Little Slugger?
Well,
this is happening.
My question is what she found on the computer, like, was that from, like, a long time ago?
Yeah, that's from a long time ago, I think.
So...
Well, how long ago? Because it's the exact same room. And if that's in the new dream house, how long were they in the house?
Well, the thing is...
how long ago did he catch Little Slugger?
It's not a brand new house, though. He's making renovations on the old house.
No, he was building the whole thing from the top. We saw the framework. in episode 4.
But they said it was renovations. It said he was adding stuff onto it.
Then he added a whole damn house.
I mean, I've seen people do that on my own street. Trust me. People do that.
If you say so. Okay.
I've seen at least like 3 different houses on my street literally get flipped. And basically, like, they put up new framework, new everything. So, it's not beyond the realm of possibility.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm going with, because it makes the most sense to me. But I'm sure the house doesn't really matter all that much. It's just it's probably just in the past and then in the current, and Lil Slugger is still in questioning. That's the important part. Is he still in questioning?
I'm just really wondering how long he's been in questioning. Because, like, I don't know if they've successfully been able to charge him at this point. Because, again, you have... Again, I think it's like 28 days to hold someone before you can, without charging them. So, I'm just wondering, has it been a whole month?
Maybe.
And...
I don't
Like, he
know.
got out, they couldn't pin it on him, or, like, why are they talking to the old lady now? I feel like they would have got around to that beforehand. Why are they talking to the other lady? I feel like this would have gone a lot faster when they were talking to the kid.
How long did you say?
For what?
When you were talking about being held for questioning?
You can be held for 28 days without being charged. So unless he was charged with something and they're still trying to pin it on him.
Oh yeah, they can definitely charge him for assault.
You know what? That's true. They could probably hold him a lot longer on that one.
So...
I don't know. The timeline feels a lot more condensed than it might be then. But it felt off to me a little bit.
I don't know.
Anyway, I have a theory about the old man, but
Go for it.
I'm
ready to hear
not
everything.
Well, I just feel like Little Slugger might just happen to be a creation of his own imagination, or all of this is like in his head, or I don't know.
Well, we know
Something
at least it's in the lady's head, the first woman, because she just made him up to
Yeah.
explain why she hit herself.
Yeah. But I was just, like, thinking, like, because he's been there, and it seems like he's not all there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to, like, maybe think that, like, maybe this is, like... But he seems smarter than, like, he is, because he's writing all those equations.
Yeah, he's got something going on. And unfortunately, the English dub that I'm watching doesn't have a whole lot of translations for, like, little written things. So
Yeah.
I don't know everything that's being written down.
Yeah.
But
So I
he's
was...
gotta have something to do with something, because, like, the guy who's taking care of him isn't even in the theme song, but he is featured pretty prominently on the moon.
Yeah.
So
But...
yeah, I don't know.
Like, I'm thinking he has something to do with all of this, because out of all the characters that are seen lying down at the end credits, he is the only one that is, like, not within that sleeping circle. From what I remember.
Interesting.
I could be wrong, but that's what I remember from watching it. But...
I'd have to rewatch that. I think that's all the thoughts that I had on this. You guys got any other things to talk about with this?
Nope.
Not really.
Is this a yay or a nay? It's a yay for me.
I mean, we're like halfway through it.
I need to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Looks like we're going on to episodes 7 through 9, where hopefully we can get some more answers. And yeah. Oh, don't forget that we also had our monthly movie thing where we watched Star Wars Clone Wars, the 2003 Clone Wars, not the 2008 Clone Wars. So make sure you also take a look at that today if you haven't already, and if you have, you go watch it again. I like seeing views go up. I think that's it. Anyone else got anything to say?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Boy.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!